You do the damn.
But they'll take the paternity check from the child's father, though.
And what you just caused this man and you sitting up here, I had to put myself first. And I know it may have damaged him and he probably has lifelong problems. But I had to put myself first because I could only help him if I put myself first. Well, I got news for you. You didn't help him. You damaged him.
She doesn't care. She's a strong, independent, liberal black woman who wishes that she was a man, standing there looking like Lou Gossett Jr.
You didn't help him at all. You damaged him. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, I had to deal with that. Like I said, I felt like I would have rather been thrown in a closet, fed cold grits, oatmeal, anything to hear that from my mother, you know. And I don't understand, Ma, how you can stand here with a smirk on your face and not feel for me.
Because she doesn't give a shit. She's a sociopath. Like many of these modern-day liberal females are sociopathic, only concerned with themselves, care less about anybody else.
I'm your only begotten son, Mama. And after all them years you done said that to me, Mama, you can stand here with smiling. That's not right, Mama. I'm your child, ain't I, Mama? Don't you supposed to protect me from all enemies, foreign and domestic, Mama? Don't you supposed to protect me, Mama?
No, she's not supposed to protect you. Remember, she loves herself more than she loves you.
And you'll sit here with a smirk on your face. I didn't want to do this to you, Mama. I didn't want to shame you like this.
She's not ashamed. She could give two shits. All that's doing is stoking the fire within her to hate you. Because you represent whatever it was that happened in her past. Most likely, some strange man maybe molested her or raped her. That's why I did the video that I did on that pansexual, and I'm sure that people are going to say, well, he's not a pansexual, he's a pedophile. This guy, Andre Brady, and there are going to be many more entries into that series. I mentioned in that video that in the so-called black community, we do a very poor job of making sure that we gain justice for our children. We just let these things go because oftentimes the children are molested by notable figures in the so-called black community, whether it be a pastor or whoever. It's your job to show your child that you're willing to protect them even to the death. That's how the child develops fidelity within you or towards you, loyalty towards you, so that they understand what that dynamic is about, so that they can exhibit that trait themselves when they have children, to understand the importance of being ready to die for your child or to gain justice for your child by any means necessary. And if people don't like that, oh well. Because when you don't have that mentality, you have shit like this, man. And a lot of so-called black people, they let things go when it comes to their children and molestation. I myself believe that the defendant, his mother, something happened to her in her childhood, somewhere along the line, maybe in her teenage years. Maybe she was raped by a man. Maybe she didn't have a father in her home. Maybe a strange man came in her home and did something to her. Who knows? But for you to look at your child and say, I'm always going to love myself more than I love you, that means that at some point in her life, there was a poisonous or a toxic element that was introduced into her spirit, where she is unable to love anybody. She does not even really know what love is, if what the plaintiff is saying is true as it appears to be.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No,
I'm sorry.
you're telling her what she needs to hear.
I didn't want to do this to you, Mama. And I'm still like that wounded, battered wife that want to protect her husband. I'm still like that wounded child saying, I'm apologizing to you. That I'm sorry that I had to do this to you, Mama. I'm still that child.
I hope she doesn't have a smirk on her face, and I hope you're misinterpreting that. Is he misinterpreting that, isn't he, ma'am?
No, he's not misinterpreting anything. As a matter of fact, she's trying to hide the smirk because she don't give a shit about him. Once again, that's a man hater. You could look at her and see that she hates men. And like most man haters, what do? How do they show their man hate? They try to look like a man. Because if she's not already there, she's on her way to lesbianism.
Well, Your Honor, I think his perception of me is quite different from the reality.
You know, we're talking about the smirk he believes you have on your face today. As I sit here and fight off tears, I look over there and you do have a different look than a person who was very sad and a person who was very touched by what he just said.
Why would she be touched by what he just said when she wasn't touched by him when he was a child? She wasn't touched enough by him as a child to understand that she was supposed to love him more than she loved herself. She decided that she was going to go all across the world in the military and go to college and leave him with her mother and grandmother because he was too much of a burden. And look, it is what it is. That's why I state I would like to know what's the rapport between him and his father. But I suspect that his father might not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, because if he was, he may have shown a little bit more scrutiny in the type of woman that he procreated with. And let me say this, sometimes it's not even that brothers are necessarily not that sharp, it's just that they've never been taught anything. And that's the importance of being pro-truth. It's not a pro-black channel. A lot of these pro-black dudes will tell you, the woman, the black woman is God, and you know, whatever she feel, that's how I should be. Like, a lot of these niggas are just dumb. I don't have time or patience for dumb niggas. And I said it with all due respect. I have none but love for brothers, but we have to purge out the stupidity. The stupidity has to go. If you're an idiot, you have to be removed. Because when you tolerate idiocy, that creates a culture of idiocy. Whatever you tolerate is the culture that you want to be a part of. So to get back to the point, of course she's not going to show any mercy to him now. She didn't have any when he was a child.
Yes, sir. I love my son, and I always will.
Allegedly. Define love.
He's always known this. I have provided everything I could as a single parent for my son.
Say he's all.
How were you a single parent when he was raised by the grandmother and the great-grandmother? So how could you have been a single parent? Once again, that term single mother is a badge of honor now. That used to be a scarlet letter for women. Now it's a badge of honor. They prefer to be single mothers, the vast majority of them, no matter what they say. I'm talking about the liberal females. They prefer to be single mothers, brother. So please understand that. When you encounter these females that talk about women's rights this and women's lib that, if they do approach you in regards to having a child, it's only to use you as a donor. Right now, especially in the so-called black community, it's a lot like a beehive or ant colony, or like the movie Aliens. Remember the movie Aliens? That's really what the so-called black community is like now. Like the movie Aliens. Just a bunch of bugged out black creatures running around looking to see how much chaos they can cause, and they all report back to the Queen Mother. Remember at the end of Aliens 2, Ripley found the nest, and it was led by a big old black queen. You brothers who talk about the black woman as God, that's the convention that you're trying to implement, or that you're trying to maintain, really. Because the so-called black community is led by that matriarchal energy, and it's led to nothing but destruction. All right? And it's on you, so-called black man, because you have the ability to nullify that nonsense.
He's always known it.
Yes, he has always known it.
Let's move on, sir. All
Yes,
right.
sir. I just want to...
you're unpaid. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Like I said, she's supposed to protect me. She co-conspired to hide a daughter from me with another woman, telling this woman he don't want to, don't talk to him, talk to me. He said he don't want nothing to do with y'all. 8 years passed, Your Honor. She's going behind my back. She's supposed to protect me. No matter what, how can somebody come to you, Mama? How can somebody come to you and betray your only begotten son, Mama? That is treacherous. Ain't nobody did that to you.
Let me say this very quickly. It's very obvious, once again, that his mother worships herself, she worships the feminine principle, and she hates men. It's very obvious something happened in her childhood to make her hate men to this degree, to where she would, as he would say, co-conspire against him to hide his daughter from him. And I believe him when he brings forth these allegations, because if he was someone that has something to lose by bringing up this story, he wouldn't have brought it up. Why bring it up if it's something that can make him look in a bad light? It's obvious that she has a problem with him, and you see this oftentimes with the liberal black female in regards to her son. She views her son to be a reflection of the man that left her, maybe of the man who molested her when she was a child, or the man who raped her when she was a teen or preteen. Who knows? But there's obviously a very, very poor rapport between the son and his mother. Very unfortunate.
Tell me about the bill you're suing for.
The bill, in June of this year, I get some hit on my credit score, a BGE bill. In DC areas, gas and electric. I haven't had no gas and electric in my name because every place I lived when I lived out there was all utilities included.
I know you're not about to tell me she put
Yes, sir.
electricity in your name without your permission.
In one of her rental properties. In one of her rental properties.
How
Now that's fraud. She can go to prison for that.
did she find out it was her then?
When I call BGE, they telling me, no, it's you. This has been on since 09 to 2014. I said, how can y'all let a bill go up to over $1,500?
Did you mention it to your mother?
I was so angry.
Right.
It was no way possible for me to speak to her respectfully.
Yeah.
So I waited, Your Honor. I put it off. Just can't wait no longer. How can I do this without? I reached out to my mother. I ain't spoke to my mother in years. Last time I seen my mother was in May at my son's graduation. The last time.
When you called her about the bills, what did she say?
When I called my mother about the bills, I said, Mama, you put a BGE bill in my name. It's done affected my credit score. She tell on the phone, oh, okay, all right. I called him tomorrow. No remorse, no affection, no lie. Baby, I'm sorry.
And she's doing that all in his name. She must have access to his social security number.
I didn't mean it. Oh, it affected your credit score? I'm sorry. I'll handle that now. She didn't say that.
Let me hear from you, ma'am.
Okay, there's a lot of things, Your Honor. First of all, I cannot tell this court about my relationship with my son in this amount of time. First of all,
He did.
That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to be educated, right? Didn't you ship him off to your mother and grandmother so that you can go to college? You went to college and you're still not able to articulate yourself in a timely manner? He was able to do so. Now, clearly the brother is a little bit overly emotional, most likely because, as Judge Mathis has also noted, he's a broken person. And he pretty much has been flooded with feminine energy because that's all he's been around, unfortunately. But even he was able to express himself, to articulate himself in a timely manner. You can't refute that, most likely because you have nothing to refute his sentiment with.
And I don't know if you sized it up or not, but he
first of all,
resents you because of the way you damaged him, because of the things you've said to him. Now, I want to talk about this bill. Whatever you're about to talk about, that's dead. The
No,
bill.
sorry,
What about the bill?
okay, let me talk about the bill.
Let him talk about the bill,
Let me talk
yes.
about the bill, Your Honor. My son was managing one of my properties, and yes, he is correct. I did put the bill in his name.
Without his permission?
No, sir. No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
When did he give you permission?
He gave me permission before I called BG&E.
When he called you about it, did you remind him?
Did I remind him?
Yes.
No, sir. I forgot
Why?
about it.
That makes no sense. You're presiding over property and you have someone who had a bill for an entire piece of property put in their name, and you're not even sharp enough to remember that that person gave you permission to open up a bill in their name? Nah, this bro committed fraud against him.
No, you should remember when he called you.
Yes, sir. I'm going to tell you, Your Honor. I was so shocked that my son had ever called
Got
me.
that. We're past that.
Okay.
So, this bill, when he asked you about it, why didn't you remind him that, son, you agreed? That was never your response?
No, sir.
All right. Why not?
It wasn't your response because you opened that bill up without his permission. You opened that account up with BG&E without his permission. Because you still care about yourself more than you care about him. And that's what that statement was about when you told him that when he was 5 years old. Brothers, look, man, let me say this. It's very important, the link between parent and child, especially father and son, or father and daughter, just like it is mother and son, mother and daughter. It's just that in this society, they accentuate the mother more. But I think that oftentimes, sometimes we as so-called black men, we forget how important giving our children certain words of support and exhortation are telling them how beautiful they are, how smart they are, and investing that time. That's why I stayed there like a stock. This female, she has no comprehension of that because she most likely was not the recipient of that when she was a child. Or maybe she just is a reprobate person. Maybe she just is reprobate. Who knows? You see that she did not really have a leg to stand on in this case, or has not thus far, because she was not even willing to bring in her mother and grandmother to testify on her behalf.
Why not? Why didn't you explain to him?
Because, Your Honor, my son has a violent
Got you.
history.
Okay, he would have gotten violent. All right,
Me.
judgment for the plaintiff.
He would have gotten violent over the phone. That makes a lot of sense.
Plaintiff, $2,133. Good luck to you. I'm so happy for you that you've done so well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Your grandmother and your great-grandmother did a great job after your mother abandoned you. Good luck to you. Judgment for the plaintiff.
No matter what, son, I'm going to always love you, no matter what you think.
How could you always love him when you don't even know what that word means? He told a man when he was 5 years old that you're always going to love yourself more than you love him. That means that you worship yourself. You're a sociopath. It might be a witch, too, looking at her outfit. Wouldn't surprise me at all if she's into witchcraft.
Show me,
That's
Mama.
all I have to
Don't
say.
betray me. Don't walk
That's
away
all I
from
have
me,
to say.
Mama. Why?
Walking away looking like a fat-ass man. Talking about that's all I have to say. You could not even walk up and embrace that man. You still hate him.
Why betray?
That's all I have to say.
I wasn't here to shame my mother, you know. But what's right is right, and it's no courtroom on the Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere that can punish her for the emotional crime she committed towards me.
Well, you know what? Hopefully that brother can grow past that situation. But the moral of this case is, as I see it, if you're not able to love someone more than you love yourself, don't initiate a serious relationship with them. Certainly don't bring them into the world, because a child is not asked to be brought here. But anyway,